post-holiday, post-vacation, post-celebration, I always get questions about my stomach's killing me, or why do I always get sick after a celebration happens? And, when I was speaking with you, Shailene, I think you had a quintessential story that so many people have after a holiday. And holidays can be stressful, but it can be a good kind of stress, but it can also exacerbate symptoms that we might have. So tell me what's going on. You started sharing with me, and I was like, let's get this on TikTok and let's help other people. So share with me like the symptoms. What's going on now for you?
Well, currently, I would say the past 2 to 3 days, I have been feeling exceptionally bloated. My eating has completely gone out of the window. I can't eat. That's my problem. Like every time I try to eat anything from like drinking water to just having any form of food, and I've tried multiple foods that are either like mainly carb based or vegetables or meat based. I can't keep it down. It's like I'm constantly having like really bad stomach aches, and then I'm like going to the bathroom every couple of minutes a day because I'm struggling to keep it down. So I'm like stuck between this. Do I try and eat and drink as much water to stay hydrated because I'm like feeling tired and feeling hot and dehydrated, or do I stop all of that so I can get through my day? Because then if I don't add anything currently, I'm okay. But as soon as I try to eat or drink anything, it's like all of these symptoms of pain and hot flushes and running to the bathroom every 5 minutes is just how I've been living my life the past 2 to 3 days.
Okay. So share with me, has this ever happened before?
I find that I have a very sensitive stomach.
Okay.
I generally, and it would happen very often after like a stressful event or meeting family for dinner or getting out of my normal eating routine. Then occasionally I would just have this moment of like not being able to find my balance again with my stomach. It's
Mm.
like it goes in and out constantly. Like I'm struggling to just keep it or maintain it. As soon as I eat something that I generally wouldn't eat, or let me not say wouldn't eat, but don't often eat.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to a restaurant and I indulge in like a steak or a pizza or something, and the next couple of days is like my stomach can't process the idea of adding this. But then it's like, how do you continue to live your general lifestyle if you can't indulge in these moments with people? So I find that I'm constantly on this roller coaster of I'm good and bad, I'm good and bad. So I can't find a balance.
So let me ask you this. When you were young, grade school, could you eat pizza
Mm.
and not have a problem?
And I could eat anything and any amounts of anything. But now it's like I can't.
Okay. And another question. And you could eat steak, your stomach wasn't even an issue. You could have whatever you wanted. At what
Yes.
age did all of a sudden you start to notice, like, whoa, that didn't sit right? Or was it high school, college, after college?
Good question. I would say it was definitely after college. So between the ages of like 26 and now I'm 32. So somewhere later.
This is a newer issue for you. Even though it's been the last 4, 6 years, we know
Mm,
that you had a stomach of steel early on. And something
yeah.
over time has shifted. And let me ask you this, in the 4 to 6 years that it has been an issue, has it been this extreme, this kind of almost a twisting of your gut and not able to get anything down, even water? Or is that even newer in the last year?
Definitely newer. I feel like the more that I overindulge in certain things, the worse it actually gets.
This is good. I want to hear from you. What does
Mm.
overindulge mean to you? Because that can mean something different for so many people. So, what were you doing before these few days?
Prior to the past few days, I was eating like a regular diet, and it was focused a lot on like a balanced carbs, veggies, and protein. And so that's how my last 2 3 weeks were going. And then I had a wedding that was coming up, and all of that stress and having to now plan everything, my routine completely went out of place. But the last few days, whatever I could eat, I would eat,
Like
which I
what?
don't
Yeah,
know if.
that's okay. Like, but this is normal
So,
stuff. It's a wedding. So, like, what would you have?
yeah, I think I indulged in, we had like three different types of meats that were like pork and steak and chicken. We had rice with like curry and potatoes, and what else? Like I ate spicy wings as well at some point, and then I just couldn't eat. I couldn't even eat dessert.
It's okay.
It wasn't. I didn't feel like I ate a lot, but I felt like I ate a lot of variety in a
Mm-hmm.
small space.
Mm. And let me ask you this. So there's one thing, and I'm sure there was some cocktails in there, some typical wedding stuff. Right. Of course. And these are
Yeah.
when someone like you were eating so well, right? For
Mm.
your system to be able to just say, I'm going to have a couple glasses of champagne or whatever I'm going to have some spicy wings. A system in balance should handle it no problem, right? But something, especially with this stress, let me ask you this. So we're talking about the quality of foods, which your quality of food was fine, just different from what you're used to, right? But you could always stomach it as a child, it sounds. Those things were
Yes.
a no brainer. So let me ask you this. What about quantity? Were you eating larger quantities during this time? Or no? Were they actually less or
No, I would say they were less. When I was eating a bit more healthier, it was smaller but well spaced out during the day. Where
mm,
the last few days have been um, bits and pieces everywhere, but I didn't overindulge. However, I possibly on the wedding did eat quite a bit more than I usually
of
in
course.
one sitting. Like the sitting was like,
Which is
yeah.
normal, which is normal. All right, I have another question. So we look at a couple of things. We look at the quality of food, quantity. Now let's look at timing. Were you eating often before these meals? Were you skipping meals? What was going on? Even though the wedding is fun and exciting and everyone's together and it can be stressful too. So tell me about
Yeah.
your eating around these times.
I would say my eating was definitely out of balance. Like
Mm,
I ate in the morning, and then I never ate throughout the entire day.
mm,
And then it hit about 8 o'clock, and we had dinner. So I didn't eat for a very long time, and then only ate a bit later. But I
mhm.
found that even a few days leading up to the wedding, it was like one meal here, another meal there, but it wasn't consistent. It was.
When you actually ate some of these different things, do you know the constriction you're feeling now? That kind of, not able. Did you feel that after you were eating during the weekend?
No,
Got it.
not during.
All
Not
right.
during.
Have you taken any antibiotics recently?
No,
Okay. Do you take any probiotics?
I do take probiotics.
Many things, and I think I heard you say earlier too, it doesn't matter what you ate. It's like you think it might be meat one day, but then the next day you eat meat and you're fine. And there are so many things that contribute. And I'm not here, I don't diagnose, I am not a physician. But the most important thing is to start looking and educating yourself on what it could be. So I'm here to supply education on what it could be. There are some times when we don't eat, we go into fight or flight. And so, and
Mm.
especially when we go into fight or flight, our dopamine, norepi, our adrenaline is going. And when our adrenaline is going, our digestion actually shuts down. So let me give you an example. Uh, a gazelle. A gazelle, all of a sudden, a lion sees the gazelle. The gazelle is like, boom! It goes into fight or flight because it wants to save its life. When any animal, us included, goes into fight or flight, the body's going to say, don't eliminate, don't digest. You literally don't have time to do any of this because you've got to run from danger.
Mm.
So during a normal day, when we don't eat, when we're everyone, how many of us skip meals when we're shopping too much during this time, getting ready for vacation, making plan, all of that. When we don't eat and we're doing things all over, our pancreas isn't shooting out enzymes. Or maybe, so all of these things start happening. So then when we finally do eat, our hunger hormones and our stoplight hormones are confused because the hormone of cortisol and insulin, they affect the hormones of what we call
Yeah.
when our digestive tract and our body's in balance, we can handle those 2, 3, 4 days of being out of
Mm.
balance. So it's interesting during times like this, if there's an imbalance, often the stress or even eating a little different is going to exacerbate or make the imbalance worse. And it sounds
Mm.
like, in the last 4 to 6 years, your stomach isn't as robust. You can't eat like you used to, right?
Yeah.
And here you had a jubilant time, stress, and then was not eating. And then it's like the bad symptoms you've been getting the last 4, 6 years, it kind of was a tipping point, and your body's like, I'm checking out.
Yeah.
Ghrelin and leptin. And so all of these hormones get involved, and we eat something. All of a sudden, our body says, I don't have what I need to break this down.
Mm.
And then next thing you know, our body's stuck with distension, bloat, discomfort. It's sitting there. I'm not able to break it down. That's one system that may be out of balance. Then there's another system. What's that? Your microbiome. So your microbiome might have been off, and that's the environment in your gut. I love that you're taking a probiotic. That's perfection. But what might be going on, you might have more bad bacteria than good bacteria. What do bad bacteria love? They love stress. They love acidic environments, they love stress. And when you don't eat, they become alive. And so the minute when that starts happening, uh, let me ask you, not to get too personal, but how has your elimination been?
Very runny. If that's a lot of information.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
So it could be that you also felt under the weather and you have a little bit of a bug.
mm.
You see, there are so many things that can contribute. So the symptom of bloating, not being able to eat, not being able to keep anything down. There's so many different reasons, and even more than we're going over. I would say the first thing, just to get out of distress. Are you sleeping?
I'm sleeping quite often, actually.
So we want to get you out of fight or flight. That's the first thing. And we're going to do that first with some breathing exercises, some belly breathing, and 4-7-8 breathing. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to get you out of fight or flight by when you do put anything in your mouth, and we're going to talk about what. I want you to chew it 30 times per bite. Have you tried that
Mm.
yet?
I have.
And what's
I have
happened?
been trying. I've been trying to eat like that. Yeah.
And what's happened? So when you chew about 30 times, when it's in your mouth, do you want to throw up? Is it almost that bad?
No, it's only once it actually goes down do I get these exceptional pains in my stomach.
Do you throw the food up once you swallow it?
So today, yes, I have. Within like the first 10 minutes, it just
It'll come right back
couldn't.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you running a fever?
Don't think so. It is a little bit hot, but that's because we're also in the heat wave right now.
Right. To the doctors, did they take your temperature?
They did, and they didn't say I was running a fever.
All right.
They just said it could be a tummy bug, but my issue is that this happens so regularly that I'm just like,
yeah.
how many times do I have the same cycle?
There's another thing to consider also. The fact that your gut was good for most of your life and then it turned. Sometimes can mean we talked about stress and hormones and the effect on digestion and quality of digestion. Then we talked about bad bacteria. And what we didn't talk about yet was the structure of your gut or the lining. There are many times just by eating, just by having cocktails, eating sugar, like you said, you could stomach anything. Sometimes medication, stress, it can cause leaky gut. And what that can do is in the lining, there can all of a sudden, it'll break down the mucosal lining and there'll be junctions or what they call almost holes in the gut. And they'll leak out different proteins. And what happens is all of a sudden, if we have leaky gut, one of the symptoms is not only bloating, but weight gain, but also the inability to tolerate food. So we think that we're allergic to something because we can't stomach it, but it's because our gut, we have a leaky gut, and all of a sudden all the protection, the mucosal lining, the good bacteria that helps our immune, that supports us, it's all gone and we're sensitive to it. What did your doctor prescribe?
Well, my doctor prescribed hydrating,
Good.
and if I don't want to eat, I shouldn't force myself to eat. But he also gave me an antibiotic to take as well to just help with what I'm currently feeling. He also mentioned that I shouldn't eat or mix any certain foods, but rather to keep it a little bit more healthier. So, for example, he did mention that I shouldn't have spicy foods or anything that's going to irritate my stomach. Just keep it clean.
Yeah. You know, he's right on. And I think to get you out of extremis, to make sure you go to your doctor, that was perfect. I think antibiotics, given that you do have loose stool, great call by your doctor, and it's an option, and I think that's where using antibiotics mindfully, I'm not like a proponent of use them every time, but using them while you're with a functional wellness expert like myself, having your doctor, having us both involved. When someone has to take antibiotics, we can actually capitalize on that time and use it to make sure that your gut is protected. Make sure that as you're bombing, you're actually bringing back probiotic as well. And then the whole goal will be on a gut protocol to just make sure that we end up shoring up the gut, not only the lining, but the microbiome first getting tested, because our gut is where our immune is housed, right? And so I would say your doctor was spot on, doing things mindfully, working with a functional wellness expert like myself. A little bit goes a long way. Get yourself out of fight or flight. Have you felt well enough to take a leisurely walk?
I could possibly, yes.
We want to work your body because when we're not feeling well, especially stomach, we'll tense up too. And you've been tense all. So I want you to try a couple things to get out of fight or flight. If you don't feel a leisurely walk is doable, which is possible, play some calming music, read affirmations, or watch a movie that is just going to calm you down, even a comedy. You know, get your defenses kind of down. It's called rest and digest. It gets you in that parasympathetic mode. You know, if we're nervous about why are we sick, what's going on, let me go, it keeps that excitatory, neuro and adrenaline going to really get those affirmations and do something called belly breathing. Breathing through your diaphragm. When we breathe through our shoulders, that actually puts us back into fight or flight. So we literally want to take our bellies, and when we breathe out, push the air out. So expand, collapse. Breathe in, fill up your belly. Breathe out, suck it in. Not working. Literally playing sleep tapes. And I would say also, try warm water.
Yeah, so I noticed that warm water is a little bit better on my stomach than cold water. So I've been drinking room temperature to hot water.
Have you tried to drink broth?
No, I haven't.
So it's trying to get some nutrients in you, right? The whole goal is how do we get some nutrients in you, but also calm your stomach down. So trying warm water, warm broth, some electrolyte, or get some electric water, make them into ice, and just literally let them dissolve in your mouth. Just start there. Slow, slow, slow. Every piece or every bite you take, chew it 30 times. Digest it in your mouth first. So once it's hitting your stomach, it's already digested, and your stomach doesn't have to do so much work. There's some supplementation we can talk about. So the first thing is getting you out of extremis. The second thing, however, and the only way to move forward, in my opinion, is get yourself tested. There's an underlying imbalance. And, it sounds like the last 4-6 years you have been guessing. Maybe it's this food. And to not be able, these are all normal foods. This is a couple days at a wedding. This isn't like a blowout,
Yeah.
You're too young to feel this old. Like this is, so there's an underlying imbalance. And once you get, the proper testing, looking at, is this leaky gut? What's going on with the structure? What's going on inside the environment of the gut, the microbiome? What's going on with your hormones? Getting that basic testing done, being able to pinpoint the root cause, because it's not the food. If I look at your body and the food is the fuel, right? The fact that you can put steak in one day and you're okay, and then 2 weeks later put steak in again and you're not okay. It's not the fuel. It's the car. It's the mechanism. Something's out of balance. We figure that out, get it back into balance, and then you're going to be able to enjoy holidays, enjoy vacations, enjoy all of what you have, and not even think about any symptoms. How does that sound?
Sounds needed. Definitely.
I'm curious, Shailene, if you had a crystal ball, I want to do a comparison. So take the celebration that you were at. How did your symptoms impact how you enjoyed or experienced your celebration? And if you had a crystal ball or a wand, if you didn't have those symptoms, how do you feel you would have experienced the celebration and afterward?
I would say the one thing that was stressing me out the most was just having that feeling. It's worrying because you're constantly thinking about what's wrong, but not only that, you're physically feeling like you can't be present, you can't enjoy the moment because your body feels like it's just not well, like it's shutting down, like all you want to do is kind of like be on your own and curl into a ball. I think it affects in terms of movement, like I couldn't be as active as I wanted to be or engaged. I feel like if I didn't have all of these symptoms that were mentally bothering me, but also physically bothering me, I would have had a different outcome over my weekend. I would have been present. I would have had the conversations I would have wanted with people. I would have danced the night away and been able to indulge in a glass of champagne or two without worrying about the consequences the next day. So it definitely impacts your just your overall enjoyment of just being there with people. I think that was the one thing that I didn't like the most was just the lack of presence that I actually had in those moments.
Yeah. I think it's we put up with symptoms so long, and then there's a tipping point that reminds us, I've got to do something about it. So kudos to you for finally saying enough is enough. I think it's like our bodies say, pay attention to me because something's off. And I think so many people out there, like yourself, have been struggling with these issues like this for so long, going to so many different practitioners. When, like at Solaris, we put it all together for you and just say, okay, it's time to get out of the madness, get to the root cause, build your body back into balance with different protocols so you can just get back to enjoying life again. I don't want to miss out or be not as present or not be on that dance floor. Like, I want to get this fixed because even though it won't bother me as much, I can kind of quote unquote manage it.
Mm,
It's not worth it in the long run.
isn't
You're not alone. Everyone, I think, can relate to what's going on, and we're going to get you going. How does that sound?
perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Hey, everyone,
Was
I want you to right below, can you relate to what Shailene's talking about and tell us about your story? If you'd like to come on and get some advice of what to do, I would love to have you. And we're just going to call it Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything Day, and we'll get on. And I can't wait to see you then.